Joshua Lenon is here. Josh is a good friend of mine. He's going to talk about, if you don't know the story of Clio, again, it's an absolutely amazing story in that it's very typical of the Canadian startup world. They are killing it. They're crushing it. And yet 85% of their client base is in the US. They're based in Vancouver, servicing the heck out of the US market because the Canadian market, for whatever reason, is just a laggard. He's going to tell you the story of Clio. I've asked Josh to speak about what it is, how Clio came to be, because it's a fascinating story about, he'll tell you all the details, childhood friends, building a product. And the one thing that they've done that you don't see enough in legal is they've made a relatively mundane aspect of legal practice, which is basically the management of your practice, they've made it attractive through good UI and good UX, just lacking in the legal vertical. So they've got a Ruby on Rails, like lawyers, they've not seen anything like it. It's a phenomenal story. I know you're going to enjoy it.
I'm lawyer in residence at Clio. It's a title that I made up because I do a lot there. One of the things that I do is I'm part educational trainer. I host both internal and external training. So I train lawyers on technology and ethics and privacy law, but I also train Clio on lawyers. What we do, how we act, how we speak, how we think. I do sales and support enhancement on top of that. If you're a lawyer who calls and says, I'm going to sue, guess who you're going to talk to? No. And then I hand you off to our outside counsel because I'm not licensed in BC. I give product advice to our team on how to develop our product. That little twist that makes legal work different than business work, I'm one of the people that provides input to that. But we also solicit input from a lot of our users. I know we've got a couple users in the room today, and their advice has been invaluable in developing this product. And I do a lot of market research, and you're going to see a lot of that in the presentation as I continue, because I read a lot of surveys. Because as Ken was talking about, and as Jason's talking about, there's not a huge amount of data organized about legal work. And it's actually becoming a real problem, a detriment to our profession. And it's something we're going to have to change quickly. So we are at the dawn of the Agile attorney. Is John Grant in the room? No? Good, because I steal very liberally from him for this presentation. His Twitter handle is JEGrant3. Feel free to tell him. Oh. So he wrote this great article. It came out just a couple days ago in ABA Law Practice Today. And he talked about the fact that we have this great software being developed for tech, finally. That a lot of tech software has kind of languished in the 90s in terms of design style and functionality. But companies are stepping into the space. And Ken and Jason both talked about the amount of investment that's coming into legal technology. And it's really starting to drive some modern practices and how technology is developed and how it's displayed. And one of the things that John raised in this article was that these technology houses are using agile, lean production methodologies to create software for lawyers, but the lawyers themselves aren't using these methodologies. And he wondered why that is. So how many people here know what Agile is? Oh, a good chunk of you. For the rest, here's a slide. So Agile is just the idea that you plan, you collaborate, you deliver, and then you take lessons learned from that activity and you cycle it all back in again. It's not really a hard concept in terms of ideas, but in terms of practice, it is a nightmare. It requires a lot of dedication. It requires a lot of foresight, because what you're really doing is you're taking that oh crud moment that comes when problems happen, and you're moving it all the way to the front and planning for it and planning around it. And that's what makes it special, is that it gives you the idea of problems that will be coming and planning and adapting for them as they go. And this is a very short cycle when it comes to Agile, and I'll tell you about how we use Agile at Clio to give you kind of an idea of how it works. These are some of my teammates hanging out in our beautiful office where the sun is shining right now, and I'm here. Yeah. So how it works is each team has a section that we call a sprint. They're usually 1 to 2 weeks long. And at the beginning of each sprint, the entire team gets together and says, what do we want to accomplish in the next 2 weeks? What's on our backlog, things that we said we want to accomplish, what's demanding our attention right now, what do we think we can handle? And as a team, we decide for the next week or 2 weeks what we're going to accomplish. And we use a tool called Jira, but there are lots of different tools out there for this, to document all of those different tasks, all of the different outputs that we want to deliver. And then we have a person that we call a Scrum Master who gathers that all together, puts it into a document, and hits go. And that's what we do for the next week, 2 weeks, is we get up in the morning, we look at our tickets in Jira, and we work on them. And everybody knows, of course, there's never any interruption when you've got an important task and you've got to sit down and track it. So one of the other things our Scrum Masters does is every time somebody comes to us and says, I need you to do something, I need you to do it now, the first thing we do is we don't go yes or no. We go, Scrum Master, come on over here. I've got an injection. I want to document it. I want to see, what's taking my attention versus what I've planned to do. And we tie those together in terms of functionality. So at the end of a sprint, we can take a look at what's been accomplished. We can go, okay, yeah, we really got a lot done. Wasn't what we had planned for this week. It almost never is, right? But we know where the problems are coming from. We know how to incorporate those problems the next time around. We know who the problem person is, who keeps not bringing these things to our attention ahead of time. And that's allowed us to then, the next sprint, start planning the whole thing afresh, the whole thing new. And what does that give us as a company? Product updates. We tend to release a product update at least once a week, believe it or not. Some little twist, some little change, or something big, right? Big things take months. We admit that, but we work on them a part at a time. How many people here know about some of our recent product updates? Jeremy in the front, one of my colleagues does. We just released an Android app. It took close to a year to build. And they built it one feature at a time. What's the button going to look like? What's the layout going to be? If I swipe from left, what's that going to be? All of these were tickets that we built one at a time. We just rolled out, actually forked the product, which is a very, very big challenge, to where we started out catering only to solo and small law firms. So if you were a solo lawyer or a small law firm, we were the product for you. Piece of cake, no problem, built directly for you guys. Because the founders of Clio recognized one thing that a lot of other businesses didn't yet, and that's the majority of lawyers are solo and small law firms. How many solos and small firm lawyers do we have in the room? Yeah, nice. I know a couple of them right off the bat, right? In Ontario, it's close to 70% of lawyers are solos. That's a big chunk of the marketplace. And nobody was really tailoring to them because, quite frankly, solos don't tend to have a lot of money disposable that they could invest in their business. So when the internet came along, our founders, Jack and Ryan, noticed that they could distribute a really quality piece of software without a whole lot of investment in infrastructure. And that was a switch from previous software producers out there, especially in the legal space. So they launched back in 2008 at ABA Tech Show. Oddly enough, they got a little bit of press. That kept going. They received a $6 million round of investment from some guy in Germany. There's a whole story behind that about how the actual, hey, I want to give you money email ended up in their spam folder. Yeah, and so the investor thought they were playing hard to get, and they just hadn't gotten the email. It's really funny. And then just recently, we received an investment of $20 million. And so when Ken was talking about investment back in 2013, 2014, we were one of the ones. We're now used in over 10,000 law firms in 50 countries around the world. We're the backbone of 120 law schools. We're also the backbone of the new law practice program that Ryerson's put together for students who are going the non-traditional articling route. We're out there. We've become the backbone of a good chunk of legal space. In the ABA Tech Survey of 2014, they said, what are you using? And 17% of lawyers said Clio. So we're doing okay. No, there's a lot more to go. But Agile is what's made us hit these targets. It's what's kept us on track, keeping focused. So where does that take us, though, is we generate value in the legal industry. And I want to talk about value a little bit because I think that's really what Agile gives, is the idea that we can create value and people will give us money for it. And that's a good thing. So value is benefit minus investment. That's all it is. And I stole this from John E. Grant, so you can go to his website, agileattorney.net, and leave him great comments on how Josh did a great job presenting his material. But he had some really interesting ideas about what value means to clients. And that is, money is a poor stand-in for value. All right? How many clients come to you because they have a problem, not because they're losing money? I'm getting divorced. I'm getting evicted. It's not a question of money when you get evicted. It's a question of, I need a place to stay, right? How many people come to you and the problem is about money? That guy owes me $10,000. So it can stand in for value, but it isn't necessarily the outcome they're looking for. And we know that because value is emotional. How many people have ever had a client that said, that's not the point, it's the principle that matters? Every time I hear a client say that, a little cash register sound goes off in the background for me. Ding! And an angel sheds a tear. But we know that what they want is a specific outcome. And they don't care how much it costs. If they can get value, they will throw buckets of money at you. That's the whole idea behind a lot of internet startups right now. Provide value, take a bucket of money, go home. Done. And what's interesting from John's point of view is that when it comes to that math equation, value is equal to benefit minus investment, it's almost always better to increase the benefit. Even if it means increasing your investment a little bit, if you increase the benefit, the value just keeps going up. It's proportional. What we do know, though, in the legal space is that value is often denied by law firms. All right? This is from Altman Weil's 2014 Law Firm in Transition survey. I said I read a lot of surveys. They said they surveyed about 500 law firms. 93.8% said there's more intense price competition. How did law firms in that survey respond to more intense price competition? On average, they raised their rates about 4%. Yeah, really smart move. You also found out in the survey, though, their clients responded back by demanding 25 to 30% reduction in fees. So who's weighing the value and the benefit here, right? Firms also said there's an 88% chance that, their clients want commoditized work. They want predictability. They want it now. They want it fast. They don't want Ken's divine inspiration. They want it on paper, and they want it now. And they also said that they're seeing increased competition from non-traditional sources. That's some of the people here in this room, believe it or not. You guys are building that. How are law firms responding? According to the Altman Weil survey, 39% said, we're not really going to make any change. It's business as usual. Or I'm sorry, actually 60% said business as usual. 39% are like, we're going to try something new. They're trying something new as an investment in technology, or they're going to outsource. If you are a junior associate in those firms, you're up the creek. I'm sorry. You're not making partner. They're sending your job probably to Manitoba. And good luck there. I hate to be a downer, but that's what's happening. Only 4% of the firms who said they were going to make changes are actually taking a look at their work process, how to make things better. And how are people responding? This is a chart from that same survey. On a scale of 1 to 10, they asked the seriousness of law firms to make concrete, substantial changes. The median response for law firms that were surveyed was a 5. We're about halfway serious about making a change. The client's perception is 3. Scale of 1 to 10, clients think 3. You're not going to change. You're not going to provide more value. I'm going home. And we know that they're taking their business with them because since 2012, they've taken about $5.8 billion in spend out of law firms and moved it in-house. Ken said it's about 1/3 cheaper to do the work in-house. Totally is. And they need tools and technologies and process to do it. And again, that's where Agile comes in. So what's the whole point? There's business, Jason's point, law is business, in providing value, And there are a whole heck of a lot of law firms that aren't providing value. No. And that seems to me like a huge business opportunity. So before, you've got the client, it's all about principal, ka-ching. Now it's, I've got $800 billion in spend. Ka-ching. Let's grab it. So who's grabbing it? Axiom is. We've talked about this already. $73 million deal spread over a couple of years for a mystery bank. They're not going to tell you who it is, but it's one of the biggest. But law firms are doing it too. How many people know Clifford Chance? Excellent. They are a Magic Circle law firm out of the UK. They're basically the analogous to the Seven Sisters here, only bigger. And they have pulled Lean into the law firm status. The prime example that I like to give about this is that they give about 1,500 bound volumes a year from their London office. And they found a way to decrease the time to produce them by 60%. And they found a way to decrease the cost in producing them by 80% by going and talking to the guys in the print shop. And the guys in the print shop said, you always give these to us last minute. We have to scramble. There's tons of overtime. We don't really have a lot of the tools always on hand because we're busy with all this other stuff we're supposed to be doing. How about you just like loop us in earlier and we know it's going to happen? Now, there's a whole lot more to it than that, but that was the first step for them, was finding out that lawyers are really bad about giving you stuff on time. Let's give stuff on time. Done. Who thinks they could provide that type of value to their clients right now? Just give them stuff on time. If you do, you're providing them value and they will give you money for it. That's the point of the talk. Safe Arf Lean, you've heard Ken's talk. It's phenomenal. I'm not going to waste your time on it. But I think we can go below BigLaw. And that's why I want to talk about Botton Company. It's a great name. It's all about robot law. It is a UK law firm, and you'll hear the UK brought up a ton of times in these talks today because they're a hotbed of legal innovation. And they are a law firm that said, we're going to help you if your flight's delayed. Yeah. There's a new EU Parliament rule that says if your flight is significantly delayed, the airline can owe you up to 600 euros. For law firms, that's chump change. For most people, that's the price of another ticket. Right there, right? And after some really significant court cases in the UK that said, no, routine technical things are not a reason to deny a delay, this business sprung up. And what they've done in the last 2 years is process 10,000 claims. On average, the recovery is about 600 euros, and these people take a third of it. Who's doing math? Well, it comes out to about 1.8 million Canadian is what it comes out to. How many people do they have working on that? 3. 3 people doing this. They've come up with a process that automates it. You can go to Botton Company's website. They have a free checklist to see if you have a claim. You can even take the forms on their website and file the claims yourself. They're not denying it. But if you want somebody to put together the expert advice, the expert testimony that's needed, if you want somebody to walk it through the regulatory procedures that are required, they're more than happy to do it for you. They make about 90 pounds per application, but when you process 10,000 in the last 2 years, that's not a bad return. What else do we know about them? They've got 20,000 claims in the hopper right now. So they're probably going to hire a 4th person. No. The point is that there's value in process. And if you learn from people like Ken, like Jason, like other Six Sigma belt people, you can take the Agile methodology that I talked about in Clio, start applying it to your own internal processes. So let's take a look at unlocking that value. What have we learned from all of these people? Well, if we go back to Altman Weil, it's one of my favorite places to read, they describe the process of legal process management. And this is a huge thing of text. I'm not going to read it other than laying the foundation. This is step 1. Then you go to formulating the project plan. This is step 2. Everybody's eyes are glazing over right now. Step 3, implementation. Jason's point, we reward action. We don't just think about it. And then step 4, retrospective analysis. All it really is that big loop in the picture that I was talking about before. This is legal process management. These are the steps you should be going through in your law firm. But I think there's an easier first step, and that's what I want to unlock today. And that's easy project management. Find something you're good at. Everybody here has at least one thing that they're good at. And hopefully it's the one thing that you love as well. If they both combine, that's great. Figure out why you are good at it. That's it. Is it because I'm predictable? Is it because I work harder? Is it because I have a paralegal who knows the whole system and lays it out for me? And then try it again. Try that process again, using that experience to guide your future actions. The last 5 of these worked really well, so I'm going to try it again. And then I'm going to repeat it, finding out what I was good at in those last 5. That's all Agile development really is. I'm good at something, I'm going to try it again, I'm going to see what works, I'm going to do it again, over and over and over again. In Clio, we do it in 1 week and 2 week processes. In your firm, it could be by case, it could be by month, it could be by quarter. But if you go through these 4 steps, you will be unlocking value for your clients, and they will be unlocking their wallets for you. And that's my presentation.